What's going on? It's Taisophon, and I'm coming at you guys with another video. So we all know about the game Stellar Blade that's set to release later this month in April, and approaching its release, there seems to be a lot of controversy around this game. There always seems to be some controversy around some female fictional character in a video game these days, and I want to step in and give my opinion on it. So from what I've seen on the internet, people, or should I say gaming journalists, have been having some serious problems with the design choice of Eve, who's supposed to be the main protagonist for Stellar Blade. IGN France came out and said this: "It's not new, and other games have chosen to highlight the strengths of their female characters, but where a Bayonetta stands out with an iconic character design, or a 2B from Nier Automata inspires an entire generation of cosplayers, Eve from Stellar Blade is just bland. A doll sexualized by someone who had never seen a woman before." Now I think this comment from IGN France is immature, and here's why. When you come out and say that Eve from Stellar Blade is like a sexualized doll by someone who's never seen a woman, it shows that you're probably the one who's never seen a woman before. The developers of Stellar Blade even came out and stated that Eve's character was based on a real-life 32-year-old model named Shin Jae-eun, who is gorgeous in her own right. A user named Steph Annie made a comment on Twitter saying, "If you're triggered by a female character design, that has more to do with you than the design." Holy shit. And I agree with Steph 100% on this. There's plenty of women out there in the world who are shaped and built just like Eve, and the comments that people make about Eve's design make it seem like having an attractive woman in our video games, whether that be her having an attractive looking face or a nice body, is a sin or something. They're not even worried about the intentions of the character or what their backstory is. They're just worried about the fact that she looks appealing to the majority of people. If you want to get into the psychology of being attractive, having attractive characters in general is very healthy for a game's longevity. Attractive individuals are seen as more friendly, more trustworthy, and more sociable. They tend to have a powerful draw of people's attention, therefore getting people to want to purchase the video games, movies, books, and more just off of the fact that the person on the cover is good looking. And I don't see a problem with this at all. The majority of people on the entire planet are average looking, which is why when we see someone who is attractive, it's like a big deal for us. If everyone in the world was mind-blowingly attractive, being attractive in general wouldn't be such a big deal. It wouldn't draw people's attention as much. A user named Topek899 on Twitter translates what IGN editor-in-chief had to say about the game, and he said, "The problem is not the sexy design itself, but the percentage of males who will only want this type of fictional body in reality. Being a male myself, I've come across guys who are attracted to many different body types and looks when it comes to women in real life and women in video games. You have some guys who would prefer a woman that's built like Tifa from Final Fantasy, who's slim with big breasts. There are women out there that look like that. You have a percentage of men who only want women that's built like Mei from Overwatch, who is what we will call thick. There are women out there that look like that. You might even come across guys who like women who have large thighs like Chun-Li. There are women out there that look like that. Tall and thin like Bayonetta, a nice lower half like 2B, small petite women like Jinx from League of Legends. Beautiful women come in all shapes and sizes and exist out there in the real world." The editor-in-chief also says, "Go tell that to the women who are hit, killed, denigrated, or who commit suicide because they cannot live up to the fictional standards expected by men." First of all, most men do not expect women in video games to look a certain way. Most people in general just want to play a game with a good story and good gameplay. Most people in general are looking to have a good experience with the games they purchase. And I've never heard of women killing themselves or being abused because they do not share the same form of a video game character. When IGN says this, it makes it seem as if attractive female characters have some sort of negative effect on women, and just seeing these types of character models in the games that they love puts strain on their mental health. And I just want to say, if there are actually situations like this that happen, I just want to say that's really sad. Nobody, man or woman, should feel like their life isn't worth living because the look of a fictional character doesn't represent themselves, and in no circumstance should someone be physically abused because of this either. If anything, I've always seen women feeling empowered by attractive fictional female characters, like for example Abby from The Last of Us 2. I can't find the specific comment that I'm talking about, but I remember years ago when someone had made an Instagram post saying that Abby inspired them to hit the gym so that they can look like her, and there are women out there that are built just like Abby. Even just being inspired to cosplay as these characters, you got women dressing up as Tifa, you got women dressing up as Cammy, you got women dressing up as 2B, and they all seem to have fun doing so. A user named Raspberry commented on this saying, "These are fictional characters, they are literally objects. We can keep having the same argument after a decade. Violence/sex in games doesn't affect the real world, just like banging the bear in Baldur's Gate didn't increase bear attacks." Like I said before, I would agree with Raspberry here, but I wouldn't say that it doesn't affect the real world at all. It does have an effect on the real world, but not in the negative ways that were stated by IGN France, but in a more positive way. What makes this even more ridiculous is that IGN France recently decided to retract their statements on Stellar Blade, and they had this to say. Recently, IGN France produced and published a preview of Stellar Blade containing an offensive passage that should have never been kept. The text has now been edited, and here is our official apology to Shift Up Corporation's studio staff. Also, please note that IGN France is an independent branch of IGN, and that IGN's editorial staff had nothing to do with this incident. The original text of the Stellar Blade preview contained comments that were out of place, while it was never our intention to disrespect Shift Up or any of its employees or their work. We recognize that the phrase taken in its literal sense was inappropriate, and we regret it. To anyone at Shift Up's corporation who felt personally targeted and insulted by this passage, we are truly sorry and sincerely apologize. It's cool that IGN France decided to come forward and apologize about what they said regarding Stellar Blade, but there's a couple of things wrong with this apology in my opinion. They said, "We recognize that the phrase taken in its literal sense was inappropriate." What do they mean by taken in its literal sense? How else was calling Eve's design like a sexual doll supposed to be taken? It would be better to explain why you feel different about what you said and how your view on Eve has changed since the meltdown occurred. When you word your apology like this, it makes it seem like you're doing damage control instead of trying to see how your statements in the article were uncalled for. It makes it seem like they're just apologizing to get back into the developer's good graces. If you ask me, y'all owe Stellar Blade a rating of 10 out of 10 for all of this. The second problem I have with this apology is to anyone at Shift Up Corporation who felt personally targeted or insulted by this passage part. IGN France, you pretty much insulted the whole corporation with the comments that you made towards Stellar Blade. All the hard-working hours, blood, sweat, and tears that went into creating this IP, and you guys just needlessly put down the main protagonist's design because of the way she looks, and the fact that men out there find her design attractive. Appealing or not, the fact that you guys couldn't see that most people like the way that Eve looks and enjoy the demo as it is inconsiderate and careless on your guys' part. But hopefully, after this whole situation, you guys come out the other side as more thoughtful and more considerate as a consequence. As far as the demo goes, I enjoyed it for what it was. Personally, I don't have a problem with Eve's design at all, and I enjoy everything that comes with it, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't say the combat in this game is slow, but it's like a balance between Dark Souls' speed of combat and Sekiro's speed of combat. It fits somewhere in the middle of those two games in my opinion. I have a problem with the input delay where my animations wouldn't come out until like a whole second later after I push the button. It makes it hard to perfect parry or perfect block at times when the enemy is hitting you with multiple attacks in a row. This game relies heavily on your defensive prowess to unbalance enemies, so I hope they get this fixed before the game's release. The atmosphere and music and just the overall vibe of the game gives me PS3 era type of vibes. This game for some reason reminds me of DMC 2013 and the regular Devil May Cry games. I think it's because of the weird, out of the ordinary enemy designs they went with in this game. The music in the demo reminds me of sounds that we might hear from games like Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy 13-2, where it has some women singing all gracefully in the background, if you know what I mean. I'm a big RPG guy myself, so seeing that it has RPG elements like a skill tree where you get to upgrade your moves, HP, combo strings, all of that's right up my alley. You buy and upgrade items, weapons, and outfits for Eve to wear. I'm looking forward to getting that black and yellow outfit and that red and black outfit you see in the trailer. Those two outfits stood out to me right away because I like the color tuition on both of them. I think it's cool how Eve carries her blade in her hair. I give props to the developers for thinking outside the box with that one and making her carry around her sword like that. I like Eve's battle stance because it reminds me of my favorite Final Fantasy character, Titus from Final Fantasy X, and the combat overall feels satisfying and rewarding to play, considering that you can die pretty fast in this game if you aren't tactful. Let me know down below how you feel about the demo and this whole IGN France situation, and how you feel about Eve's design in this game. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you want to keep up with more of my videos, hit the subscribe button. This has been Taisophon, and I'm out, people. Later.